does it make sense to tint the roof of a Model Y, or does it not? Or does it even make sense to do PPF? Or what if you did both? And that's exactly what we're gonna do today. So tinting the roof is not necessarily like, I guess, necessary, or as what Tesla says, especially the Cybertruck, they did a special type of, it's not like tint, but coating, where it is protective of UV and infrared, which is what causes skin cancer. But some customers have actually complained that in very, very hot areas, I'm talking like Texas or Florida or something like that, that it does actually go on top of their head, especially if you have like no hair and you're bald. Like that's gonna be a lot of heat right on here. So some people have used like a sunshade to cover up the whole thing. But what if you don't want to cover up the whole thing, you just want it a little bit darker? So that's like issue number one, and I think that's kind of what we're trying to explore. And then issue number two is on my oldest Model Y, we have a very similar 2020 Model Y. That was the first one that came out. This is a Legacy, not the Juniper. I had a crack right here, and it's crazy how it happened. Like a rock just flung in, and it hit it, and it like hit the corner, and it cracked it like all the way through. And I was like, how the hell did that happen? But like that actually happened to me on my Model Y. So if I had a TPU-based protection or like PPF on my windshield, or not windshield, sorry, roof, that actually would have been prevented. So this is something that our customers have been asking. You know, they want to tint. I wouldn't sell it to the front windshield. That's a different one, and we did a video about that. And typically, it's also illegal to like tint the front windshield like really dark. That's up to you if you want to do it. You're supposed to be above the AS1 line in most states, which is right about here, right? Like right where the autopilot is. But we have this film right here. This is actually Hexus's film. It's a tinted film. There's a lot of companies that also do this. We don't have enough for like to cover up the whole thing. But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna install it on the top. We're gonna clean it, install it, and then we're gonna go outside because today is super hot. So we wanted to do this video today. And then we're gonna use a temp gun and just see what the temperature is. So like right now inside this car, it is pretty nice and cozy at 59 degrees Fahrenheit. We're in America, so we're gonna do Fahrenheit. But that's what we're gonna do. So let's go outside, or not outside, but here, and then we're gonna go ahead and install this. So this video, it's not necessarily a how-to video. I want to be clear about that. What this is more so is just kind of showing you the process and trying to answer the question, does it make sense to do this, right? This windshield is massive, and I can see the reason why people would actually want to protect this, right? When you replace this windshield, it's not $200, $300 like some cheaper windshields. I mean, I think this is like close to like, don't quote me on this, but close to like 2,000 with labor. I think it's like 1,200 for the part, and then almost $2,000 after you put all that stuff in. So I'm actually gonna just clean this top part. I'm just using a nice scrubby pad, and then I have a ladder on the other side as well, and platform. Oh, also, I want to be clear. I want to show you something that happened like a week ago. I had this weird log or something freaking hit me up there. It was crazy. It like came off the car and then hit me on the roof. And I thought I broke my roof at first because it hit it so hard and there was just a really loud thump. I don't know, I just had bad luck, I guess. But we're just gonna give it a nice scrub. You can also clay bar it, but in this video, we're just kind of demoing it. So we're just gonna go ahead and do this. So the way that TPU films work, in this case, is basically you're using a soapy solution, and then you use a squeegee to kind of get it out, meaning like underneath, you're able to slide it around, right? But TPU is polyurethane. It is usually 8 mil thick. It depends on the manufacturer and the film that you buy. But the difference is in vinyl, like I have some vinyl like in the pillar delete over there, vinyl is PVC, polyvinyl chloride. And it doesn't necessarily have the same kind of properties that TPU does, polyurethane does. It doesn't have necessarily the same type of self-healing. It has some aspects of it, but not full aspects of what you would see in polyurethane film. So when you put TPU on your windshield, it really protects it from some of that stuff, from rock chips and stuff like that. So I actually cleaned it off, but there was a scratch like right somewhere here. Yeah, I feel the scratch right here. And I think that's where that rock hit it, kind of like what I was telling you about. Okay? All right, so once I get it all clean, I'm just gonna go ahead and spray a lot of slip. And Marley, I might need some help just kind of laying it out. So you're probably wondering, why not just tint it like normal people? Well, there's a good answer for that, and I wanna talk about that. The biggest answer is there's a lot of risk in installing tint on the roof or windshield and stuff like that. There's just a lot of electronics around, so if you're not experienced, it can be a little risky. Okay, so I'm gonna give you this and you can touch it because we're gonna go past that edge anyway. Okay. Right? You can see that this is tinted. I forget what this is, but I think it's like 45 or 50% or something like that. I think. Trim it. How much spacing do you have on that side? Okay. All right, so all we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and make sure we spray underneath it. Okay, like I said, this is paint protection film, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and just lift it up a little bit. Yeah, there we go, and then help me position it all the way in the front. All right, so if we were to do this, and if we were to sell this, I actually have a lot more confidence that a DIY can do this. Why? Well, it's outside, there's less risk of electronics. Can you just kind of spread that out? Because there's that giant finger right there. There you go. Okay. All right, we're gonna go ahead and just squeegee this down. The other thing about, you're probably going, well, shit, if this works for all my windshield, why not put this on all my windshield? Well, the visibility and clarity is not quite there yet in PPF. It's traditional PPF that you normally see. So on something like the top windshield where you don't look at every day, you're really not gonna notice it, and the visibility is gonna be quite nice. But when you start dealing with something like the side windshield or the front windshield, then you're gonna start actually noticing it, and that's where it gets a little dangerous because you need to look at that in order to drive. So that is why we do it that way. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and switch. You can go to the other side, and then go ahead and just, oh, almost fell.
The ladder isn't as fun.
Hmm?
The ladder's not as fun.
No, it's not as stable for sure. That's what I'm saying. There we go. So it's actually quite easy to install, in my opinion. And I'm gonna go ahead and typically, do you have a, actually I have a tack solution right here. You wanna grab your tack solution, which is basically alcohol or water or distilled water, or whatever it is for whatever install you're doing. There we go. And then I got my cut right here. So typically when you're cutting, you want to actually be inside the glass. Okay, I just want to be clear about that. Look at that. Super easy to cut. This is a nice film to cut. I got some fingers in the front. You see that right there? So we're just going to go ahead and hit it with some, sorry. This is hard. I think this is not safe. I reached the safety point where I should keep doing that. Okay. So So why is this better, I guess, in my understanding, or in my opinion too, is that I think PPF is way easier than tint in some ways. You can reposition it. You could actually get some dirt out if you did get some dirt in. And it's just a little bit more easier to understand in my experience. Whereas tint is like, once you screw up, you're kind of done. And I would not expect anybody who DIYs to be able to cut this. So I will make it pre-cut. So it's exact sizing. And I think that's really gonna be important if we're actually gonna do some sort of a kit for this. I just don't see people using a blade like this. Especially if they just aren't a blade person, meaning like they're just not used to using like X-Acto knives and all that stuff. It's just gonna be really hard. Okay. So you can see once I use some of this tack, things starts to tack down and just kind of hold a little bit better. Okay, give me some of that. All right, let's go inside now. All right, like I said, very, very sunny right now. Pretty sunny, actually. Nice. So we can actually test it. So, I mean, it's kind of overcast, isn't it?
No, I mean, you can really tell a difference, though.
All right, so you can see the difference right here. I didn't go super heavy, right? I mean, that was the point. I don't think you're trying to go like super heavy. You're just trying to add a little bit of layer. I want to be honest with you. I told you that for PPF, there's going to be a visibility issue in terms of when you look at it. Like when you look at it really close, it's not a haze, but you can see that adhesive layer, which kind of creates like a slight wave, right? But here's the thing, no one is doing this. So, I mean, I think that's why I recommend in areas like here, or like the back on the Model 3 and stuff like that. I think the back is overkill. I don't think it's necessary, mainly because like it's rare that you'll get hit. This one is probably the only one where I'm like, yeah, it does two things. It darkens it, gives you a little bit more UV and infrared IR protection. And on top of that, it protects. There's a layer of protection. So if rock chips or anything, blunt force hits it, you're good to go. All right, so I think I got it, right? So I've been sitting for the last 10 minutes or so. So we obviously haven't had it baking. Like it's not like crazy hot today. Like there's quite a bit of clouds actually behind us. So it's like kind of covered the sun right there. But what we kind of noticed is back there, you see that line back there, right? So I kind of told you that Tesla started doing those coatings on like the Cybertruck and then also the Junipers. This is kind of what I'm talking about. So like if I point my IR thermometer right there, it's showing almost like a 97, 98, okay? Just that area, right? And I go right here and it shows me a 91 right here. And I go right here and it's showing a 91.7. So from the tinted, or maybe even higher actually, a little higher. So this is showing 93. This is showing 92 right now. And then that's showing 96. 95, 96. So like this is actually a little higher than a non-tinted. And I wonder if it's because there's a film and it's sandwiched in between the two. So it's creating a little bit more heat and maybe that's why. But I think the biggest advantage that you have here is on the older cars, I think there's an advantage of the UV protection because it isn't coated like the newer ones, right? But I think on these, for example, if you have the newer Tesla, like a Cybertruck or a Juniper, I think the biggest benefit is just protecting the glass up here. And then having it kind of like the very, very similar performance from the already coated glass. I think that's really the biggest one. But despite this, I really do like when I look at it straight on, because I'm looking at the sky, I really don't see a whole lot of like distortion or waviness. I think the only time I see it is when I'm looking at it at this angle. I'm looking across, which I don't think I do often. And also, again, I don't look at the sky like this when I'm driving. So it's not really a big deal. But having broken a glass, I think this is a really big thing. And on top of that, some people really like it dark up here. And I think this is a benefit. So I think we could offer maybe a couple other different types of tints. Like maybe like 45 is probably what we'll offer, or 45, 55. And then we'll also offer something like, I don't know, like 25, like a very, very like smoky, right? Dark right here. I think you'd be surprised to have this added layer of protection. And I think for a lot of people, it's gonna be worth it, especially for those that may not have the upgraded glass and the coating that Tesla started doing. So hopefully this helps. We probably will come out with a product. We're gonna kind of get back in our drawing board and see what makes sense. We're also gonna figure out, I don't know if we're gonna be using hexes. We like the product, we like the company, but during our process, we kind of try to use all of them. We try to pick the best, not just for professionals, because this isn't really for professionals when we make these products. It's gonna be for DIYers. So whatever is the easiest to use, but I would say that was pretty easy to use. And like I say, there's not gonna be no cutting. It's just gonna be stretching it out and then anchoring it down and then squeegeeing everything down and having a protected glass right here. So if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Let me do one last reading right here. 96 now. 96.6, 96.9. I mean, it's literally the same. And then back there again, 101. You see what I'm saying? 5 degrees difference between this area and then that back. And you look at the back one right there, 102, 100, and then 96. Big difference, right? So, and then same here, right? This is not tinted. Well, the sun's not really facing this one, so I don't think that's fair. But we'll see you later. Click on that subscribe button and happy protection.